play number 6 in the playbook. This is our sporting style. This is Cash. This is his first haircut. So we are going to go slow, but what a great lesson for everyone watching of how I would handle a dog's first haircut. So let's get on this. All right, I'm gonna start with my 7 blade, and I'm going to open his ear up, and I'm gonna shave the sides of his cheeks. Sometimes you'll just have to show him it's not that scary. And I will go reverse, but I'm trying just to remind him how this is okay. I'm gonna reverse on that cheek with a 7 blade. On my spaniels, like Cocker Spaniels, Springer Spaniels, English Spaniels, I'll do a 7 blade even on their cheek and their neck. They have really, really squishy muzzles. And so I really feel like the 7 blade is enough. And some people do take a 10, but I really like the finish of a 7 blade, reversing on its neck, on its jowls, and I'll reverse ever so slightly and remove his whiskers. And yes, whiskers get removed. Like I said, this is his first. I'm gonna lower him just a little bit. This is Cash's first haircut, so he's doing a good boy. As long as he gets love and he's happy. So I always stretch that out as tight as I can. And I'm gonna take right above his eye. I'm gonna go from the corner of his eye to the inside of his ear. I 7 blade reversed right here on the sides of his cheeks. I am going to take my 7 blade just on top, right in the middle of its skull, right in the middle of its skull. I'm gonna take my 7 blade and continue to take this down and blend that right into my cheeks. You could go up and really try to go back and forth and make that into a really pretty transition. You could take the other side of its head with your thumb and tighten it. Good boy. Cash does really good with love. I already groomed the other side of him just so he could understand it's not a scary process, and it's always weird with lights and cameras. So I already know this isn't his favorite, but I did figure out he's a dog that does really good with positive affirmations. Okay, so I'm going to lift up his ear. So I cleaned out his cheeks, the top of his skull, behind his ear, and now I have this side of his head all pretty and shaved. While I have the 7 blade, I'm going to put in my neck. So he has this chest bone right here, you can feel it. It's really sturdy, really thick. So I like to put the head up and reverse my 7. And there's a colic right here, so I'm going with that so that's still in a reverse. And when I do my neck and put in this pattern line, it's a lot like a poodle. It's more of a U-neck though. I'm not gonna stretch his ears too tight because he doesn't love his ears right now. But what you wanna do, from the corner of the ear bulb to the corner of the ear bulb, you're gonna go down right like this. So it's a nice U shape neck that I reversed in with my 7 blade, right to here. So now that I did my 7 blade reverse, I am gonna still use my 7 blade with the green. I'm still holding its neck tight. And I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna blend in. My chest piece. Just since I'm doing its head already. We'll come back to the chest in a little bit, but now that I have all this cleaned up, I'm gonna move on to his flushy, squishy cheeks. And I'm gonna go with my Bavera, my 5-in-1. I'm gonna put his grooming loop back on and show you how I clean up his muzzle. We're gonna use just a little different technique when we're clippering the muzzle. I'm gonna use my 5-in-1 on my 9-blade setting. Normally when you take your clipper, you will hold it like a pencil as if you're gonna draw the name, but the blade will sit flush with the dog's body, or on my case, my arm. When I'm grooming the muzzle, I will take the 9-blade and I will drag, and this way on my spaniels, those flushy, cute little cheeks, you don't wanna see clipper lines. We're not grooming a poodle's face, so it's really cute. We're grooming, we're just really taking the whiskers and blending and making that look super nice, super blended in here. I think he's really excited to show you how. So I have my 9-blade setting. So sometimes with your puppies, he's a 9-month-old Springer Spaniel with a mix of an English Spaniel. So sometimes you just have to show them it's not scary. But this is what I mean when I'm dragging. When I do the skull, I don't really love to take a blade from his eye set from a stop to the middle. I did take my 7-blade in the middle of the skull back behind the ears. But this part, it's a crown, but it's not like an American Cocker Spaniel where it's like a dome crown. This is just for his expression. I do like to take just above his eyebrow a little tighter, but this, I just take my slicker brush, I'll comb everything to one side. On my heads, I like to take my thinning shear. I'm gonna blend that transition line from his ears to that 7-blade reverse on his cheeks with my thinning shears. My thinning shears are never staying in the same spot. Just going back and forth on his head, and then just cleaning this up as tidy as I can, making sure my transition lines are pretty. Remember, on American Cocker Spaniels, they're supposed to have that dome, that crown, and this is not supposed to have a complete crown like that. He's getting sleepy. He's being such a good puppy. He's doing really good for his first groom. So his face is really pretty. And really on his dome, what I'm doing is I'm making sure it's not completely flat. He has a nice, pretty dome. And I could control that, versus if I just took a 7-blade on this head and just clipped from the top of its stop all the way back, this dome wouldn't be this pretty. But I can control the shape of the dome as I build it with my thinning shears. And notice he didn't like it in the very beginning, but he is trusting. He might just be getting sleepy, but he's doing so good. So on his ear set, I'll start on the outside on a 30-blade on a 5-in-1. Now this is different from a 30-blade on a actual clipper. If I did it on an actual clipper, I'd probably start with the 15. On leather of dog's ear, you want to go down where his jaw meets, his lower jaw. So if you were to take a line, his line would be about right here. Or on the corner of its mouth, if you would bring this up, his line will be about right where my thumb's at. So 2 different things, as long as it's a third of a third of a third. So I know how much this dog hates its feet because I did the other side of him in his ears. I don't know if it's that he hates it or if he's just not used to it because this is his first time, but what I do know is he is such a good boy if he gets lovin's. So I'm gonna have my sister, who's also our videographer, hold him. Oh, he's a good boy. He's my good boy. See?
I'm watching you.
Oh,
yes. That's all she's doing. She wants to help you hear better. Oh, yeah, you like that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
That's the spot.
That is good.
So when you do a third of an ear, it's kind of like a V. You want to make sure the V is in there. I'm trying to go as fast as I can because I know our time is limited. Oh, that's a good boy. But you always want to clean out. I'll show you that V here in a second, but he found the sweet spot and he's starting to trust us, and he knows it's not scary, but man, this is weird. I don't blame the guy. And I do think he has a slight ear infection. There we go. He's trusting us. It is scary. So on this area, this is your pattern line right here. It goes right into a V. So you want to make sure your V is shaved in. And instead of making a definite line, you just, like I did on the body, you want to put pressure and then no pressure.
It's nice.
And I'm going to mimic that on the other side of the ear and the inside.
Hey, Cash. Come here, buddy.
Look at Nikki.
Cash. Go over here, bud. Come here. Yeah, that's good. That's good. He's a good boy. Yeah, he's being good.
So sometimes just being patient with the puppy. Oh, you don't want to be patient? And maybe the dog gets its needs. I'm going to turn off my clipper so he can relax a little bit. But this ear, you want to shave 1/3 of the ear. You need to blend this transition. When you do your ears, after you shave in your V, I like to take my thinning shears and build this. I go with a straight line. I let the ear relax a little bit. I hold it out just ever so briefly. And you can see where they kind of chew and it kind of breaks off. I just take my thinning shear and bring all those little hairs together. I'm gonna open the ear up. Nice bevel combination ear. Before I work this coat in, I like to take my 5 blade on the front of my dog, on the sides of its shoulders, the back end area, and you can kind of see in our book, like this darker orange area at the front of the dog right there. It's all shorter, so I'm going to do the majority of the front of the dog and the back of the dog. And I have my 5 blade on. So I'll take my featherings in the back and I'll hold it with my hand. Anything I don't want to clip, cover it with your hands. And you can really feel the reason why the feathers right here, I'm going to hold with my hand. When you feel this muscle, you could just take your hand, feel that muscle, and right where that muscle starts to protrude or stop protruding, that's where you're going to shave down to. And with spaniels, Springer Spaniels to be exact. Now he is mixed with an English Spaniel as well. He's not purebred. But their front of their leg is completely exposed. So I will take my 5 blade and expose that. Then I'll expose the shoulder blades as well with my 5 blade. And you already took the 7 blade on the side of its neck. So I did the back, the shoulder blade. Now I'm going to do its chest before you take my clipper comb. On page 25, you'll see our pattern line. We call it like our consolation. Right above this heavy chest bone I pointed out, we're going to go meet that chest bone, and then we're going to expose this whole side of the leg. It seems to be fine with the clipper as long as it's on his body. There's a point here and there's a point here, right on each side of that chest bone right there. And then from these points to the front of the leg, that's what I'm going to shave. So I have my point shaved in. Now I'm just going to go from the front of the leg. And you want to take that off or else that dog starts to look super wide. So we put in his chest, we have his muscles exposed. Now I'm going to go on my 30 blade setting and then my 2 comb purple wall. Slide that on. Gonna make him stand. And I'm gonna put in the rest of his body pattern lines. Oh, so we talked about his chest pattern lines. How pretty much if you follow his body, his chest bone, you're gonna go set that here. You're gonna expose the entire shoulder and the front leg, but all of this hair stays. And you could, if you just take the second and feel the dog, you're gonna be able to put that pattern line in easily. So spaniels, their pattern line starts on the top of the spring of the rib. Meaning if you think of a steering wheel in your car, so if you would do 10 and 2 and 4 and 8, a spaniel would be 10 and 2. Meaning, imagine this being a steering wheel. Okay, and imagine our hands being on 10 and 2. Right here. So that's the line we're doing. Terriers are that 4 and 8 right here. And they're on the bottom of the spring of the rib. So again, just feel this dog. Feel that rib cage spring out and then spring in. So you're right at that top of the spring that brings completely out. So the widest part is not where we're gonna go. We're gonna go right before it gets to be wide. We're gonna use my 30 blade with my number 2 comb setting. And you always want to, notice I start at the top of its withers up here, and I'm going to go with the grain of the coat. So what you don't want to do, you don't want to just stop here. Because now, look at our transition lines. It looks like he's just going to have a saddle and then all this long hair. But what I am going to do is, I know this is the spring of my rib, the top of the spring of the rib right here, but what I am gonna do is I'm gonna follow through, but put less and less pressure. So I have pressure, 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 less pressure, less pressure, less pressure. Pressure, 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 less, less, less. More pressure, less, less, less. More, I'm pushing hard and now I'm pushing less, less, less. This way, you don't have to sit with thinning shears and re-groom your entire dog. When really, if you just did more or less pressure, that's how you could blend in your transition line. So I raked him a lot in the tub, but I still am seeing clipper lines. So I'm going to take my undercoat rake and just work this coat out a little bit more. Because really, all that soft undercoat, and it's really thick right here, is what's building that up, and it's not letting my clippers do what it's supposed to do. So those clippers are designed to do this coat length that I want, but what they're not designed to do is to try to go over dull, downy, dead hair. So that's why it starts to look really bad. So we have to help that clipper. The clipper, it's not wrong. It's not that it's not doing its job, it's just, it's not meant to go through a sporting dog's undercoat of its hair. So all we're doing is taking out that dull, downy undercoat, so then that clipper could do what it's supposed to do. So sometimes when your tools aren't working, just think, maybe it's not the tool, maybe it's you. And you need to do a little bit more work, so then that tool that it's designed to do could actually do the job that we know it can do. You could also use your carding knife and work that coat out too. What I like about a carding knife is whatever your rake doesn't get, because its teeth are much wider than a carding knife, your carding knife could probably grab. And I know a lot of people, when I teach my hand stripping seminars, they look at me like I'm a magician, and I just want to tell them, hand stripping is not that hard. All you're doing is mucking out undercoat with special tools. It doesn't make me or you any different. It doesn't make me any better. The only thing is I have the power of knowledge to know that with this undercoat being left in this coat, it's not going to make my haircut look as nice as it possibly can. But with hand stripping, all you're doing, it sounds like it's a scary technique, but all you're doing is removing undercoat. And you could do this with a stone, a rock outside in your driveway, or even you could do it with your hands and you could pluck it out. That's all we're doing. I'm gonna hit it one more time with the rake, and then I'm gonna see if my clipper has any more luck. My buddy. All right. So I have pressure, pressure, pressure at the top of the spring of my rib. Pressure, pressure, and then less pressure. Pressure, pressure, less pressure. Now let me talk about the points that I'm naturally gravitating to. Most dogs have these points. Spaniels and setters are a little higher than a terrier, but truly, if you watch the dog walk, you're gonna notice the points. So here's A, my finger will be smashed. B, if this dog walked, my finger will be smashed. Then this is our transition line. It's not supposed to be a straight, hard line, just a transition line. So it's our job to make the saddle transition into its underline. Very pretty. I see I have a lot more here I need to take off. So you have A, B. If this leg would walk, my finger gets smashed. And if this leg would walk, my finger gets smashed. Bless you. So I'm going pressure, pressure, pressure on the top of my saddle. Pressure, and then I'm blending in that transition line, so I don't have to redo it. This dog's about 8 months old. He doesn't have a ton of hair, but I am gonna hold all of that front of the dog's leg hair behind. On Springer Spaniels, the whole leg is exposed. So hold the hair you don't want to clip, and let's expose that leg. So also what I like to do is spring this dog's body up and pull the other side of the dog's up, and very lightly, anything that looks a little heavy, you can make that transition line really pretty yet. And I also like to move the dog's leg up and make sure this area is nice and clean. So that's how I clipper blade the body. So I'm gonna put some scissoring spray, some brushing spray, brush him out a little bit. Because now I'm going to put in his underline with my thin shears. He is growing some hair for being a pretty young puppy. I'm gonna take the hair right behind his pastern, and I'm gonna put in a sharp 45-degree angle so then I could work on his featherings. It's really hard if you're working on the feathers and don't have a spot to go to. So I like to start with my shapes, and I'm gonna put a nice 45-degree angle sharply here, and then I'll blend this in. So I'm going to take my peace sign, go down, and put in a nice sharp 45-degree angle. I'm gonna without my finger holding it, as the hair relaxes, follow that same line with my straights. Now that I have that line in, I'm gonna move to my thinning shears. I sprayed in my scissoring spray because it was getting a little staticky. I'm gonna comb everything to one side. Anything that feels a little heavy, I'm not gonna really reshape all of this, but if you see where it's heavy right here, I'm just gonna take my thinning shears, because you want this dog to look like he's in motion when they do walk, and you want these natural looking feathers. So I'm just gonna take my comb and do the same thing to the inside of the leg. Everything where it looks heavy, I'm going to just lightly, just thinning shear that piece out. I'll extend this, take his feathering, just pull it out straight, and just make sure my line is nice and pretty, or I'll round out the tip of that elbow hair up here. Same thing on the inside, just gonna extend that straight line. Feels just a little heavy right here, so I'm gonna debulk just a little bit. I'm gonna come in behind and just almost like bird clip. Like I'm not opening it, I'm just going very little. And I'm just debulking right here, because you want this hair to look natural, but you don't want it to be that heavy. I'm gonna do the back of its hawk now too. I'm gonna comb everything to one side again. Take my thinning shears and just go straight down with that heavy part. That way I can build a nice, strong, sturdy hawk. For the back hawk, I'm gonna comb this side of the hawk out, and from right here, straight down, I'm gonna remove all that hair. So my hawk is still super strong looking and sturdy. So if you could ledge groom and remove that bulk this way. And now I'm gonna comb everything up and at a 45-degree angle. So I want this hawk to look straight, nice, muscular. And he's a pet, so you can take it a little tighter than like a show groom. This inside hair right here and the inside of the back of the leg, I usually just take it with my fingers. I'm gonna go in parallel with the hawk right here at the top of that hawk. And I'm going to just take this hair off, especially my pet trims. I just need to take the inside of its thigh and blend those lines together. And then the inside of all of this hair is actually the front of the dog. And this is a part of his underline. Now he's still very much a puppy. It's not full grown, it's not matured. So it's not gonna be the most full underline, but I'm going to make something out of it. So I'm kind of working from like back to front, front to back, and kind of meet myself in the middle, because I did the front of the featherings, the hawk, the back of the leg, folded all, or combed all that hair from the inside of the leg forward. So now all I have to do is put up my tuck up. And your tuck up is usually about where its rib cage ends, about 2 fingers past it. And you want to go straight down. So I'm gonna make in a nice tuck up and blend all of this puppy hair that's not quite even there. Okay, and I'm gonna go straight down. I'm going to, from his chest bone right here, I'm not gonna trim this hair up here, but I want the chest hair from here to be straight. He doesn't really have any. If this was full, I would just let that be straight, and then at a 45-degree angle, I would take that off. Now that's not there. He has no hair here yet. So all I'm gonna do is tidy up what he does have and make it look nice. And tidy so it could grow into what we need it to grow into. I'm gonna pick up this leg and connect my chest to my underline. And I'm just going to connect that piece into my tuck up, and I'm just taking a little bit shorter than I did because I wasn't anticipating him to have 0 chest hair to connect in. So now I have a nice little outline, my nice underline. And ever so lightly, he just needs this transition. It's not supposed to, I talked about this briefly, it's not supposed to be a saddle long. It is supposed to be a nice transition that starts at the top of the spring of the rib. So this transition I feel is really nice. It's just a little like bouncy here, a little heavy here. So what I like to do is take thinning shear over comb technique, and just, my thinning shears always move. They never stay in the same spot. So take your thinning shears and just softly, I'm gonna softly blend in that transition. Remember, this is a pretty harsh line right here, so I'm just going to blend that transition. I'm gonna hold that hair back and just right up front of this dog's foot. So he's letting me blade his foot, so I'm gonna keep going. He has a mat right there. I'm gonna open those toesers up. I'm gonna back brush this. He does have a table or a toe mat. I'm just gonna cut that out. I'm not gonna worry about brushing it out, especially knowing he doesn't like his feet.
Yep, you're doing good.
He's doing so good. Back brush that foot up again. Take my thinning shears and make that foot like nice and soft. I'm gonna let the foot sit down while it's standing and clean up around those toenail beds with what my clipper couldn't get. So alrighty. I'm just gonna back brush. Now that we have his feet either bladed, cleaned up with our thinning shear, I'm gonna work on his tail. Now I'm gonna work on his tail. I'm gonna use my 5 blade and shave off the top of that tail. I'm gonna put in my pattern line. And really, if you just draw an invisible line right here, everything on this side of the leg goes underneath the dog. So I'm gonna hold that hair. I'm going to, so you can kind of see this. I have my line here. Everything on the inside stays. Same thing on this side. And I'm gonna shave that off. And then when shaving this area back here, just take your thumb if you want and put your hand out like it's a giant L. What I like to do, just feel that muscle right here. And that's your shave line. So I just have a little bit more to do here to match this side. I'm gonna take the 10 on the back of the tail so it's nice and clean, so it doesn't get poop in there. Stays short for a long time. And then I just take my 10 blade around the private area.